Mawla says in Najh Al Balagha, there are 3 sermons I want you to all read. 164, 152, and 97. What does he say? We are the vicegerents of Allah on earth. We are the vicegerents of Allah on earth. Sometimes people say, Mawla never said he's chosen by... Listen to what he says. We are the vicegerents of Allah on earth. Adhere to our directions. Follow our footsteps. When we stand, you stand. And when we sit, you sit. Makes that clear. That we are the ones chosen by Allah. Whoever recognizes us goes to Jannah. Whoever rejects us goes to Jahannam.
Okay, Sayyid. So this is Najh Al Balagha. This is your territory. Those khutbahs, I'm sure you're aware of those 3 khutbahs and the matan, etc. and the tafsir. Take it away, Sayyid.
Okay. Well, 164 is basically a convert. This is word 164. I hope you can see it.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
164 is basically when people went to Amir al-Mu'mineen in a deputation and complained to him through what they had to say against Uthman. And they requested him to speak to him on their behalf and to admonish him for their sake. So this is basically a conversation between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Uthman, and it does not have what the speaker is claiming. In fact, I'm glad he mentioned this because it shows you, this sermon actually shows you, or this speech of Imam Ali shows you what Imam means in the terminology of Imam Ali alayhi salam. You see, today the lay Shia, as soon as he hears the word Imam or Imam Ali saying the word Imam, he thinks 12 Imams, right? Look at Imam Ali's vocabulary. He's addressing Uthman and he's saying, وَإِنِّي أَنْشُدُكَ اللَّهَ أَنْ تَكُونَ إِمَامَ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ الْمَقْتُولِ فَإِنَّهُ كَانَ يُقَالُ يُقْتَلُ فِي هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ إِمَامٌ يَفْتَحُ عَلَيْهَا الْقَتْلِ وَالْقِتَالِ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. He says, I swear to you by Allah. Main qasam deta hoon Allah ki. Okay? In English, it doesn't really make sense. I swear to you by Allah. He's saying, Yani, I ask you in the name of Allah. I plead with you in the name of Allah that you should not be the Imam of the people who will be killed. Yani, you shouldn't be that Imam who the people are going to kill, because it has been said, it has been prophesied that an Imam of this people will be killed, after whose killing fighting will be made open for them until the day of judgment. Yani, his killing is going to result in civil war. So notice how Imam Ali alayhi salam is accepting Uthman as an Imam, and he's pleading with him that, look, I don't want you to be the Imam for whom it was said and prophesied that the Prophet had mentioned apparently to Imam Ali alayhi salam that there is going to be an Imam who is going to be killed, and after he is killed, civil wars will emerge. And you can see what Imam Ali alayhi salam was fearing actually came true, because Uthman actually is the Imam here, who
it's
after
the turning point. After Uthman's death, that's the turning point. After that, it's never the same after that.
It's never the same, man. Even sectarianism.
It's never the same after
say it's a turning point for sectarianism in Islam.
Uthman, Ali, Muawiyah, yeah. To this day, these disputes, discussions we have with Sunnis, sometimes Shia Uthman, sometimes Shia Muawiyah, it's all to do with this stuff.
Exactly. So, but in any case, what the speaker was saying is not to be found anywhere in 164. But we can go to another sermon, which I think he was referring to. So 152 does have a section. Okay, so it starts with the sifat of Allah and the sifat of the Imma of the Deen. And then there is a section here, a part of the same sermon about the divine leaders, the Imams, A'immatud Deen. Okay. And so this is where we awaited these changes as the family. Certainly the Imams. So he says, certainly the Imams are the vicegerents of Allah over his creatures. And they make the creatures know Allah. Now he says the Imams are the vicegerents of Allah. He doesn't say we are the vicegerents of Allah. Okay,
Yes.
so critical. That's a critical point to keep in mind.
Yeah, point to be noted.
He says, وَإِنَّمَا الْأَئِمَّةُ قُوَّامُ اللَّهِ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ. This is the Arabic. And I'm glad that he mentioned the previous sermon that we were looking at, 164, which shows you what Imam means in the vocabulary of Imam Ali. In the vocabulary of Imam Ali alayhi salam, an Imam Even Uthman is an imam. That's why he's saying, look, I'm pleading with you. I don't want you to be the imam of this ummah who will be killed. Because there is an imam in this ummah who is going to be killed, whose murder is going to lead to civil war. The Prophet has already informed us about this. Yes. Please, I beg you, please don't be that imam. So in the vocabulary of Imam Ali alayhi salam, even Uthman is an imam. Any political ruler is an imam. Now, if you tally that with this, what the imam is saying, وَإِنَّمَا الْأَئِمَّةُ قُوَّامُ اللَّهِ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ, that the a'imma, the political rulers, are actually guardians of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this creation. Why are they guardians of Allah upon the creation? Because even though they might be appointed by the people, they are still accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are not the only ones, by the way, who are accountable. In the Quran, Allah says, you can look at the last verse of Surah Al-An'am, Surah number 6 of the Quran, verse 165, and several other verses where Allah says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ. Allah has made you children of Adam, the خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ, the Khalifa on this earth. We are all the vicegerents of God on this earth. But those of us who are elected to positions of power and authority, we have an even greater responsibility and even greater accountability towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? So, yeah, so basically,
how about the part of going heaven and hell?
Right, so then this part, he continues, he says, وَعُرَفَاؤُهُ عَلَى عِبَادِهِ. The a'imma, the leaders, are the urafa, or the slaves, okay? They are the people who act as the in charge or overseers over the creations. Then this narration claims, لا يدخل الجنة إلا من عرفهم وعرفوه. No one shall enter Jannah except the one who knows them and who recognizes them, and no one shall enter the fire except the one who rejects them and whom they reject. Now, if you look at the sources of this sermon, you can see it's only mentioned in sectarian sources. Hulaini, Al-Kafi, and Amidi in his Ghurar. Both are 12 Shia Imamiyah sectarian sources which take from Ghulat. So we have to be careful. Let's go to the original source. The original source, what did they mention? Usul al-Kafi, volume 1, page 139.
Yeah.
So this is Usul al-Kafi, volume 1, page 139. The sermon is number 5. Okay. Look at the Sanad. Ali ibn Muhammad is taking from, can you read that? Or do I need to
zoom it? Yeah.
Who's that? Sahal ibn Ziyad. What do we know about this narrator?
He's the notorious liar that you've done numerous videos about.
Yeah, the guy who was so notorious for lying against the Ahlul Bayt and adding and interpolating stuff into narrations that he got expelled from the city of Qum by the chief of the Qummis, Sheikh Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Isa al-Ash'ari al-Qummi al-Razi. He expelled him from the city of Qum for lying against Ahlul Bayt. Although the interesting thing is that this edition, okay, is not even mentioned in Al-Kafi. Even in this narration, you can read the whole narration from beginning to end, and there is no mention of this part which the speaker is referring to. So this is an interpolation into an interpolation. But basically,
so you've already got someone dodgy as Salvin's Yard narrating this. On top of that, this part's not even in there.
It's not even in the original source in Al-Kafi. So it's, we honestly don't know where it came from. It's an interpolation clearly, because it's not there in the original source.
As soon as that, you can tell by whoever accepts them goes heaven, whoever, you can already see it's starting to get very ghulu-centric, and in comes Salvin.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the belief system in the Quran. He has not asked us, He has not obligated us to know anyone other than the messengers. The belief system of the Quran ends at messengers. After the last and final messenger, the Quran does not ask you to believe in anyone.
Imam Ali doesn't even force people to do bay'ah. Imam Ali goes to Abdullah bin Umar, give me bay'ah. He says no. Imam Ali says fine. That's it.
Yeah, he does not. Exactly. So that leaves us with the last reference that he gave, Sermon 97. This is about the ashab of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and about his own ashab. But the speaker does not talk about that. Ashab are underrated.
It's like he's talking about Muawiyah here.
Who?
Imam Ali is talking about Muawiyah here.
Yeah, but he's talking about, he's admonishing his own companions, okay, about his companions and the companions of the Prophet.
Okay, nice.
Okay. So,
yeah, which is the part that he wants to kind of zoom in
the
on?
part that he wants to do istidlal based on.
I just saw Kitab Sulaim say it. I'm getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, among the sources is Kitab Sulaim, definitely, Al-Kulayni, Al-Kafi, it's all sectarian sources. But part of it is also reported in the mainstream sources. Ibn Asakir, Al-Jahil, Ansab al-Ashraf by Al-Baladhuri. So there is a core part of this sermon that he had actually delivered. And then you know what the Ghulat like to used to do. They add
the masala on top.
They add the masala. But actually this, as far as this sermon is concerned, I think the part that we can, about the household of the Prophet, he says, look at the people of the Prophet's family, adhere to their direction, follow their footsteps, because they would never let you out of guidance and never throw you into destruction. If they sit down, you sit down. If they rise up, you rise up. Do not go ahead of them as you would thereby go astray, and do not lag behind them as you would thereby be ruined. This part of the text, we do not see any ghulu in it. It is not problematic. It is basically what we ourselves maintain, that Imams, this much they did accept, they did promote and preach that we should follow the Ahlul Bayt, we should support them in whenever they stand up, you know, to fight for injustice, we should be with them. Whenever they asked us to sit down, as Imam Hassan alayhi salam did, okay, when they ask you to sit down, or when you see them sitting down, you should also sit down. You shouldn't argue and object and be like, no. Basically, be with the Ahlul Bayt, support them, love them, honor them. But a very important thing is, do not go ahead of them. Sayyid Raza, that means if they do not claim divine appointment, or if they are talking about Imams in general, leaders in general, you don't come ahead and you don't come forward and say, oh, no. This is about their divine appointment.
By the way, in that same khutbah going forward, there seemed to be some praise of the companions of the Prophet, by the way.
Yes, very good. I wanted to go into that.
We don't need to go to a tafsil, but yeah, there's a...
Yeah, but this is
I would like to see us quoting that part as well.
لَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ, but this part they will not mention usually.
Yeah,
because it is in praise of the ashab of the Prophet, and it's a really unfortunate reality. When I want to
even if they do mention it, they will say this is about three companions or something like that.
Because the rest, all of them apostate.
All stuff for you know.
But anyway. He says, لَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ أَصْحَابَ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ فَمَا أَرَى أَحَدًا يُشْبِهُهُم مِّنكُمْ. I have seen the companions of the Prophet, but now he's telling his companions, I do not find anyone among you resembling them. They used to begin the day with dust on their hair and face in hardship of life, and they passed the night in prostration and standing in prayers. Sometimes they put down their foreheads and sometimes their cheeks. With the recollection of the resurrection, it seemed as though they stood on live coal. It seemed that in between their eyes there were signs like knees of goats, you know, the sign of prostration, sajde ka nishan, resulting from long prostrations. When Allah was mentioned, their eyes flowed freely with tears till their shirt collars were drenched. They trembled for the fear of punishment and hope of reward, as the tree trembles on the day of stormy wind. Allahu Akbar. What a qasida.
That's a proper qasida of the Sahaba. Ikram.
But Sayyid Raza, this is the tragedy that I want to complain to you about. It's like the Ummah when it's split into two parts. The Shi'as said we take the Imamology, we take the Imams, monopoly over the Imams, and Imams are all we care about. And the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the rest of them, they took the Sahaba. Their whole deen became Ashabology, Ashab, to the point that Shaykh Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Ninawi, a great scholar from the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, in his public lectures, he has lamented and complained that when I come and give Jum'ah khutbah and I mention fada'il and excellences and virtues of Al-Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam, or the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, people in the audience get uncomfortable and they say, oh, please don't speak about the Ahlul Bayt because people will think you are Shia. He says, and some people come to me, he says he's a Sunni, and he's saying, I can't talk about Ahlul Bayt among Ahlul Sunnah congregations, or I face difficulty in doing so because people say, you know what, it's not the right time because people will think that you are Shia.
Like it won't be the right time for us to talk about the companions or Hazrat Abu Bakr or Hazrat Umar. There's never the right time.
Because people will say, yeah, that was his response. He said it was never the right time to talk about the Ahlul Bayt. Because look, Imam al-Nasa'i, he talked about the Ahlul Bayt and he got killed for it. He wrote Kitab al-Khasa'is.
By the Nawasib, yeah.
Yes, and he got killed by the Nawasib. Al-Imam Hakim al-Naysaburi talked about the Fadail of Ahlul Bayt and his mimbar was broken. It was demolished. So angry were the Nawasib. So it was never the right time to talk about the Ahlul Bayt in the past. And it still is not the right time. And basically, it was never the right time to talk about the Ashab within the Shia al-Imamiyya. And today also, it's not the right time. But if we keep on waiting for the right time, Maulana Yawmul Qiyamah will come and we'll still be arguing it's not the right time.
Not the right time because it might benefit the other sect.